Why should America and Israel not expect help from Middle Eastern governments against Iran? And specifically, I'm talking about the five current Middle Eastern governments that have been in part attacked by Iran. With Iran launching missiles at the American bases and the American ships and all the American infrastructure in those countries. Why would those countries not help America and Israel topple Iran? Well, the main reason is all of those governments are afraid of their citizens and their populations. The governments are all family dictatorships. They're all monarchies that the citizens are deeply unhappy with because these monarchies were put in place and supported by America to turn them into vassals. None of the none of the citizens in these countries like their governments. None of them like their ruling elites. They just don't have a choice. That's why you see such a big discrepancy in how the average Middle Easterner feels about the Palestine issue compared to what the government is willing to do. Almost every Palestinian you'll ever talk to is deeply supportive of Palestine. And yet, almost all the Middle Eastern governments will do nothing to really help. And that's because the ruling elite have nothing to do with the citizens. They are American vassals. They're dictatorships that are America props in place to subjugate the local populations. And so it's very easy for Iran or other powers to come in and interrupt the social structure in these countries. When the average citizen is already unhappy, it doesn't take much to force them or to suggest that they turn against their government. Especially if it's over a subject like Palestine, where the difference between how the citizens feel and how the ruling elite feels not only tells the average citizen in those countries how little trust and faith they can have in their rulers, but also where the ruler's loyalty lies. Because when your average citizen in Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, UAE, when they think about why their government isn't doing more for Palestine, their reasoning isn't because my fellow citizens don't care about Palestine, because they know that everyone they know deeply cares about Palestine. It's because these family dictatorships are American vassals that are put in place to stop Middle Eastern people from exercising their will and their rights, from exercising their power. These Middle Eastern family dictatorships are an American bulwark against the citizens of these countries. Now, on top of the animosity the ruling class, these family dictatorships, and the citizens have, these five countries also have giant populations of non-citizen migrant labor that they treat horribly, that they exploit, and often illegally hold. And when I say they have a large population, an American might think, or a Westerner might think, I mean, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 10% of the population. The numbers are so much more absurd than that. For example, 44% of Oman is non-citizen migrant labor. For Kuwait, that number is 60%. For Bahrain, 50%. For Qatar, 85 to 90%. For the United Arab Emirates, 88 to 90%. And when I say migrant labor who is abused and exploited, it would not be wrong to call them slave castes. These are giant, unwilling, unhappy slave populations in this country who are trying to find a way to liberation. So when you think about why these five countries, why the ruling dictatorial families are not going to turn on Iran, it's not out of a moral decision. It's they simply can't afford to. Their countries are not stable enough. If they participate in this war, they will start wars in their own nations. And it only needs a little bit of flames in these countries to truly burn everything to the ground. When you have that much hostility already inside the borders of your own nation, you really can't afford to add more to it. Especially when you have large populations in your country whose outlook on life and their outcomes day to day would be markedly improved by the removal of these family dictatorships. And so I expect Iran to keep bombing Oman, Kuwait, Bahrain, Qatar, and the UAE for as long as they host American bases and American satellites. And I don't expect for these five governments to ever truly do anything more than a token effort to appease America and Israel against Iran. Because they're too not because they're afraid of Iran, but because they're too afraid of their own populations.